This conference will now be recorded. This
Until 11
conference
o'clock.
will now be recorded.
I used to spend from morning, say like around 5:30 to 11 o'clock. I used to spend my classes, and after that, I used to go for my office. That is my background, Wasim and Praveen. And based on that, may I know like you guys are which stream you guys are working, and like where you're working, and based on your experience, I can try to help you more into that.
This conference will now be recorded.
Praveen and Wasim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, first we are going to Hadoop. First, we can able to see what is big data, why they named it as in a big data, then who else is taking care of that, we can see. Now, what is a big data? Before going for a big data, there are two things here. You can understand, we can see there are two things here. One is big, another thing called data. Now, I wanted to know the what is a meaning of data. Now, you see, you feel like it is like a both of interactive session. Data is nothing. First, we need to be aware of what is in a data. What do you mean by data, sir? Praveen and Wasim. Data is nothing but a piece of information. Who generates that piece of information? Nowadays, we are living on the data world. Now, initial days in 19, you can imagine 1990, you can imagine we are also generating the data. That time we are trying to generate a KBs of data and MBs of data. Yes or no? Now, in that time where we are trying to store, initially we are trying to store in a file system or XLS or file like somewhere else in a notepad, and some normal file system we used to store. Why? Because in that time people or companies are generating only KBs of data and MBs of data in initial days. Data is nothing but a piece of information. If you want to store initial days in computer terminologies, we used to store in a file system or XLS and WordPad or something else. Now, slowly, when we are trying to grow up, like when we reach in 2000 years, you can imagine. Now, the data increased to KBs to MBs, and as well as GB slowly data is increased. Now, what happened if you want to store the GBs of data, they're unable to support the storing into the file system. Have you tried? You can able to store in a 1 GB of data. You can try to open with a notepad. It may take more than 1 hour to open the file. Means they are not supporting for storing the data into file system. Then they are trying to moving into DBMS. What is the DBMS? They have created a database management system to store the data, GBs of data and terabytes of data. Slowly what we are doing, and we are reaching 2005, 2010 years of data, the data is increased GBs to terabytes and petabytes of data. Now, when the data is increased, if you wanted to store, and there is a certain limitation for even DBMS as well. But if you wanted to store up to DBMS only, we can able to go with the GBs of data. But if it is more than that, again it is a problem. Then they are trying to coming into RDBMS. What is RDBMS? You guys may be aware of that. RDBMS is nothing but a relational database management system. It will do the two things. One is storage, another thing called processing. Good. Storage where we are trying to store in a database Goda. While processing, we guys are internally B plus C algorithm is trying to execute it. Based on this B plus C algorithm, you can able to use SQL or MySQL or PLSQL or data warehouse, or there are n number of tools are available. All these tools will help you to process the data where the data is available inside the database. Now we know that now this is a data. If you want to store the data into database, who's taking care of that? For example, this is a different varieties of data I can imagine. Here we have implementing another tool called here ETL. I think this is not like Hadoop terminologies. Just I'm trying to, before going for a big data, just I'm giving expressing what happening for a DBM. Now ETL, what it will do, it will try to get the data, extract the data, transform the data, which can able to understand the RDBMS. We know that RDBMS it will try to allow to store only structured data. What do you mean by structured is nothing but the database it contains the tables and maintaining the schema structure based on what we have the column values we can able to dump those values into particular proper format. If you have a proper format or DBMS, it will allow to store the data. If not, you cannot able to handle. Then who's taking care of that? Before trying to make it here, ETL can able to do it that. That means you mean to say DBMS it can able to allow petabytes of data, terabytes of data. But as we know that it will try to allow only structured data. Now later we are trying to moving into 2011, you can imagine data increased GBs to terabytes of data and petabytes of data and zettabytes of data and yottabytes of data and as well as exabytes of data is generating means data massively increased. Who generates the data? All the commercial sites, all the domains, healthcare domain, financial domains, all the guys are generating huge volume of data. And one more thing, when the data is accumulating out of 100%, out of 100%, 20% of data only it is trying to create it as an a structured data. But remaining 80% of data it is trying to generate it unstructured and semi-structured data. Now you guys knows that you guys are using a Facebook or a Twitter or a Google. Are we giving any like a proper format information? We may can give a special characters or smiley symbols or any data and everything whatever we are giving inside that browser or somewhere else everything is in a data, but that data is like a huge volume as of now it is generating. Then out of this, for example, out of 100% you can imagine 20% of data only structured data, remaining 80% of data is unstructured. You guys well aware of that RDBMS is not allowing to store the unstructured and semi-structured data. Then we required someone else to take care of this 20% of data and 80% of data again within a reasonable time. I can go with RDBMS to take the unstructured and semi-structured with help of some other APIs, but we cannot able to finish the task within a reasonable time. That's what we need is some technologies. If we want to handle the huge volume of data, then huge volume of data, then what they have introduced, they have introduced one of the concept called big data concept. What do you mean by big data? Big data is nothing but a huge volume of data sets unable to deal with our RDBMS. We want to do the analytics, then they've implemented a concept called big data concept. Big data is nothing but a huge volume of data. Praveen and Wasim, are you guys are following? Any confusion?
Yeah,
If you're unable to understand, please stop me. Don't hesitate to stop me. Let me show you some slides and we can go for one by one. Then I will give you the introduction about the big data now. Now, what is a big data? I will give you when we can say big. Big is nothing but a huge volume of data set. Now, see, we can say once we crossed more than gigabytes of data, can we say big? Yes or no, sir? That's what 90% of world data was created in the last 2 years. Now you can imagine, like around 7 8 years back, we don't have any. Most of the people, only important people only, they are trying to carrying their mobiles. Nowadays, everyone is having two mobiles, and everyone is having internet connection. Initial days, if you have an internet connection in your mobile, you feels like that you are a businessman or you are doing most of the transactions. See, whatever you are trying to type something or everything is data is generating use massively. Everyone is who's generating the data. Yeah, see, you can imagine Facebook or Google or Twitter or Walmart or companies and everyone. Every minute the data is increasing. If you want to do analysis, see, one more thing here, concentrate. Big data is mainly purely for analytics. I will give you for that what you mean by analytics, and before that, who is generating the data? We are only generating the data. If you want to store in RDBMS, is it possible, Wasim and Praveen? I think you guys aware of that. It is not possible. Why? Because 80% of data is entirely unstructured. Now, if you want to follow what is a big data, anything use volume data, Facebook. You know one thing, Facebook alone per day it is accumulating 500 terabytes of data per day, and we can check like like flight and electricity department, trade marketing, all the books, everything. Now, if you want to store the data, then RDBM is not, I'm unable to go with that. Then they have introduced the concept called big data. What big data will do? Extremely large data set that are deal with our existing system. Existing systems is nothing but a relational database management system. And what it will do, it will store the data and it will performance the data and it will do the analytics and visualization. What do you mean by analytics? Analytics is nothing but aggregate all the data. You need to find a solution. That solution it will help for the company to increase the revenue to decreasing the risk factor. I can give you general terminologies. What do you mean by analytics? For example, Praveen and Wasim, they are planning to start a business, you can imagine. Okay. Now, you both are planning to start a business in a Warangal, you can imagine. Okay. What business you can imagine? For example, you are trying to start a some business like a internet cafe, you can imagine. Now, you have an idea, you wanted to start internet cafe in Warangal. Now, you have a money, you can establish that internet cafe, but if you want to get the revenue, what you guys need to do it prior to that? In Warangal, which area is the best for to run the internet cafe? First point. Then another thing, where are the more students and where are they're looking for internet browsers and all those stuff. If you have established that on that area, there are a chances of we can able to increase the revenue. Otherwise, we can go to the villages who all are not like most of the people are farmers and like nobody interested to go for internet. If you have established the internet cafe in that location, is there any chances of going for increasing the revenue, sir? Please give me your comments. No, right? Now, what we need to do, we need to do the analysis which area suits for us, which area is not suits for us. Now, for example, Praveen is a Wasim friend. Now, Wasim knows he's from Warangal. He may can ask, hey Wasim, what is the area suits for us to? We need to start business. Starting business is not a make sense, but we need to increase the revenue. We need to increase the revenue means you are like Wasim knows, maybe you can able to choose like a four road junction, there are multiple colleges, most of the students are roaming over here and we can able to go for that. There are the chances of increasing the revenue. Means what you guys are doing, knowingly unknowingly internally you are trying to do some analysis which is the best place for to increasing the revenue. Now Wasim knows Warangal area, then Praveen approached, but if you wanted to do like a Facebook or a Twitter or a companies or any company, they wanted to do analysis, then they need a data, right? Your like Vasim may have a data, then based on that you are starting the business. Now what basis they are giving the ratings as of now? We are see today they are planning to more like releasing like NTR Khazana Ikad. After 1 hour or 2 hour, they will give you the rating like 5 out of 5. They will give 4 or 3.5 or something else based on which scenario. like whoever watched that movie, they will give you the ratings, right? It is good or excellent or something else. Based on that, they're publishing the reports. Now, but which scenario? Based on the customers' feedback. Customers is nothing but whoever watched that movie. Based on that, they can able to give you the rating. Means for that, what we required, sir? We required a data. That data we need to do the proper analysis, and it will give you the solution. That solution it will help for the company to increasing the revenue. Now, if you wanted to start the internet cafe, then Wasim will roam around entire Warangal. Then he can able to identify in near to this bus complex or somewhere else railway station. We can start the business. Then there are a more chance. Miss, to start the business in that particular area, you need to roam around 3 to 4 days. Yes or no? He's roaming around 3 to 4 days, right? That is his internally, without knowing him, he's trying to do the analysis. That analysis we are trying to do for the data, but RDBMS also doing. But one thing happening, what happening, RDBMS he cannot able to handle huge volume of data, and moreover, it is trying to take very less amount of data and only can able to take structured data. But as of now, we have a huge volume of data sets. I wanted to do the analysis, then RDBMS is not suitable. Now I'm trying to go with a big data concepts. Now we are here, data is increasing massively, and using with our existing systems, we are not up to the mark. There is a huge gap between this and this. We need to fulfill this gap. Then we require a concept called big data concept. Fine. Now I will give you another example. Now Praveen in Chandanagar. Now you wanted to go to the Secunderabad railway station. He is having huge luggage. Okay. He want to catch the train around 4 p.m. You can imagine. Now he is having huge luggage. He wanted to go to the Secunderabad railway station. I have given a vehicle called cycle. Now there is no chances. Initial days we have only vehicle called cycle. We need to go anywhere. There is no bikes, nothing else. Now I have given a vehicle called cycle. Hey Praveen, can you go to the Secunderabad to carry all this luggage? What you will do, even though you have a huge luggage, you tie up with the rope and make it tightly to the cycle. You can able to start running the journey. Means you are unable to take the entire luggage. Somehow you have handled with some ropes, but you have started the journey to reach the destination. It may require 5 hours or 6 hours. Very tight and very difficult. You can able to reach the destination. I am unable to say we cannot able to. We can, but it will be very difficult and it may take huge amount of time. Then that is a problem. But to take the entire luggage again, you need a some other help. Other help is nothing but you need some bags or some ropes and XYZ, right? Similar like that, this is a vehicle I have given to reach the destination. Instead of that, if I have given a vehicle called cab, we can able to carry entire all the luggage to reach the destination. Instead of 5 hours, we can able to reach the destination within 50 minutes. But carrying all the luggage also easy. We can able to keep everything in a dicky. Now, you guys tell me, if I've given these two vehicles, which vehicle you will choose? You guys will choose a cab. Now, I can differentiate. Here cycle is nothing but a RDBMS. I can say cab is nothing but a big data concept. Don't say what is a cycle means RDBMS and cab is nothing but a big data. Just I'm giving an examples for you guys, sir. Praveen and Wasim. If feeling bored for these examples, let me know. Then I can able to go for directly. I can jump into the technologies.
No, your way of teaching is good. Yeah, we are following.
And Praveen, this is Praveen, right?
Yeah, Praveen. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what about Wasim? It feels bored, like why I'm trying to
No, 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 no.
see. Everyone
No,
will learn the technologies. Why? Because we need to know the why we need to go for a big data. Already you guys are aware of what DBMS. And
yes,
while we before going for that, just we should know the differences and we know the main concept. It is not a rocket science. If you know the main sources of the goal, then we can able to understand easily.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm trying to say. Now, why? Because nowadays we are living in the data world. There is huge gap here. Now everything is generating huge volume of data. We need to fulfill this gap. Then I've introduced a vehicle called cab here. Then I am introducing a concept called big data. Now, to implement this big data, what we required? We required a framework called Hadoop. Now, big data is not a technology. Big data is in a concept. To implement the concept, we require a framework. See, like who's talking about like C Sharp or .NET or Java or anything. We have a web applications to implement like a marketing or a shopping line, online, all things. We need to go with any of the framework, either .NET framework or Java framework or C Sharp, XYZ, right? Here also we have a huge volume of data and different varieties of data we have. We wanted to implement for that, we required a concept called Hadoop. Got it? Now, what Hadoop will do before going for that, we can able to see some more properties about big data. Now, see what and like big data will do, like extremely large data set that are hard to deal with our existing systems. Means existing systems, see, we can feel like that a cycle. What it will do, it will try to store and do the analytics. Means you need to find some solution. That solution, it will help for the company to increase the revenue and reducing the risk factor. For example, Wasim is not doing proper analysis and they started the business like corner of the Warangal. No one else visited to our internet center. Then when we can able to get the money, then immediately after 1 or 2 months we need to close the setter. That's all. That's what you need to do the proper analysis. This is helping for the companies, not individual, to do the analysis. And how it is trying to working and parallel processing, and what is parallel processing we can discuss. What are the hundreds of missions, and ETL is not required. Why? Because what is ETL, we know that we have discussed. Again I will give you that. Now, what I'm trying to say here, ETL, it is trying to do to take care and transform the data into which can able to understand by the RDBMS. Here, what he can do, he can give any type of data. Any type of data is nothing but it may be structure, it may be unstructured, it may be semi-structured. He can give, I can able to store into, it will try to allow into the big data technology. Simple, I can say there is nothing else required. You can able to handle structure, unstructured, and semi-structure. You mean to say, for example, simple I can say, here there is a communicator English guy, here an Hindi guy. They wanted to give directly, then they cannot able to understand. Then here we required a mediator who knows English and Hindi. Then he can able to translate. But here, big data can able to understand whatever language he can speak. I know that either English or Hindi or Telugu or Malayalam, Bengali, whatever it is. That's what it will try to understand all the languages here, structure, unstructure, and semi-structure. He is ready to handle any type of data. That's what here ETL is not required. Got it my point, right? That's what are the futures we have here. Big data terminologies capabilities are, there are different things. What are those here? Just first thing, understand and navigate the big data sources. One more thing I can say, this big data is useful for only huge volume of data sets, but if you have a small set of data, it is not required. And another thing, manages and stores the huge volume of and varieties of data. Varieties is nothing but it may be structure, it may be unstructured, it may be semi-structured, any type of data, it is not possible. And one more thing, and what I'm trying to say example here, what I'm trying to say an example here, if I'm giving a vehicle to Praveen to reach the destination from Chandanagar to Secunderabad, even cycle also going taking 5 hours, even cab also taking the 5 hours. There is no use of going with a cycle or cap. That's what, again, what is important is, see, important is here processing the data within a reasonable time. We need to finish the task within reasonable time. How it will try to do the within reasonable time? They are following with a distributed mechanism. What do you mean by distributed mechanism? Let me give you small example. You guys will follow that. I think you guys are already aware of that. But even though, let me give an example. I feels happy to understanding the easiest way. Now, for example, I've given a one work. For example, I've given something to Wasim to start the work and finish the work. Wasim, Wasim, they need to charge. I need to charge for Wasim 200 rupees, and he wanted to finish this task. He may can take 1 hour. He cannot able to finish the task within 1 hour. Why? Because how fast he is trying to finish this task, it may take 1 hour. There is no chances of he cannot able to finish less than that. Now, if you want me to finish the work, same work within a 15 minutes, what should I do, sir? Now, I invited a same work. What I did, I invited a 4 people, and I distribute. I make it like a differentiate all the work and distribute it to the multiple people here. And what I did, this is like first guy work, this is second guy work, and this is fourth guy work, and fifth guy, fourth guy work. And what I've given instruction, all the guys need to work as in a parallel and distributed the work. And it may comes around, each guy it may comes around 50 rupees. Then I've asked for first guy to start the work parallelly, all the guys at a time, to start the work to complete. One guy it may take approximately 15 minutes. You can imagine all the guys are working parallelly trying to complete the work. How much time it will require to finish this task, sir? We can able to finish the task within a 15 minutes. Why? Because one guy he may can able to take 1 hour. The same work, if I'm trying to give 4 people, we can able to finish the 15 minutes. What happening here? What mechanism behind that? 4 people are distributed the work and they are working parallelly, not a sequential. Sequential is nothing but one by one. Even the first guy completed and you can start second guy again, third guy again, fourth guy again, there is no differences. It will take 1 hour. But instead of that, they make it as a parallel processing and distributed mechanism. Just I've given information how the things are happening here, but real time we can able to see in future classes where the mechanism is behind that, and we can go for one by one. Is that fine? Is that
Yes,
fine, Praveen and Vasim? Yeah, good, right?
yes,
That's what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. It is a reasonable time and high speed and analyze unstructured data. Again, it will take care of the, what do you mean to say? It will take care of the failures. How it will take care of the failures, we can discuss. And what I mean to say, now the big data came into the picture, right? Big data came into the picture, right? To implement this big data, we required a framework called Hadoop. What is Hadoop? Who introduced Hadoop? Why they named it as an Hadoop? Let me give you the information. What happened? What happened in 2000? In 2000, in 2004 itself, they have identified some of the concept they wanted to the analysis. Like what happened? Google introduced something like a GFS and a map reduce concept, and they are trying to do the analysis. They are unable to release the enterprise version. They failed, and slowly in 2007 and 8, and they are trying to give Google, they give it to Yahoo. They are trying to finding some analysis, and they are trying to make it as in a GFS and as well as map reduce. What is the GFS and map reduce? I will tell you. GFS is nothing but a, they are trying to store the data into Google file system. They are trying to process with help of some data structure. Again, they are unable to release the enterprise version, and Yahoo also not make it success, and they came out of that. And 2010 and 2011 in December, Yahoo, they are given to Apache guys. Apache guys, They are able to do the analysis, and they are trying to create a named called HDFSN MapReduce. They are succeeded, and they are published like a enterprise version. The initially 0.1.0 version they are published, and they are trying to make it as an a market. Then they named it as an a Hadoop. They are looking for a symbol. Which symbol I wanted to do? Who is the author? Who introduced this one? And he came from Yahoo and merged with Apache. One of the author guy, Doug Cutting is the author. Doug Cutting is the author. He introduced this Hadoop technologies in 2011 December, almost all 2012, and he was looking for a symbol. Which symbol I wanted to introduce for Hadoop, and his son was playing with a toy called elephant. Simply introduced the elephant. Why? Because as we know that elephant is in a big animal, but if you wanted to handle like a huge volume of data sets, then simply introduce the symbol. There is nothing story behind that. That is the story. They went to name it as in a big data technologies, big data, and he is the culprit. He is the guy to introduce the Hadoop technologies and make it that symbol is name called elephant symbol. That's it. In 2011 onwards, Hadoop is running into the market. Now initially they introduced 1.0 and 2.0 came, now 3.0 is running. Now I will make it differentiate what is 1.0 and 2.0, and we can go for one by one, not an issue. Still we didn't came into the Hadoop. Now to implement for this Hadoop came into 2011. From that time onwards, Hadoop into the market. And before going for Hadoop, I wanted to tell you one more thing. I wanted to know one more thing, why we went for this one. Now, coming for that RDBMS, you know that. What type of technology it is, sir? It is not any open source technology. It is not any open source technology. We know that. Why? Because it is a licensed software. It is not open source technology. Always limitations, and it will allow to store only structured data, and we cannot able to finish the task within a reasonable time. Why? Because there is a limitations here. That's what, and it is not an open source. But coming for an Hadoop, first thing is in a it is in a Hadoop is in a open source framework software. What do you mean by open source framework software? Is nothing but anyone can able to download and they can able to start the software. But RDBMS we cannot able to download. Why? Because it is a licensed software. We need to pay the license, then only we can able to use for that. Similarly, like there are a lot of open source technologies are available, like Java and Python, and there are multiple things are available. Here also open source framework we can able to download from internet. We can able to use. That's what my Hadoop framework I'm trying to explaining you guys. What is in Hadoop? And Hadoop is an open source framework developed by Apache Software Foundation. You know that, used for distributed processing of large data sets. I used to say Hadoop is and big data technologies meant for the only use volume of data. When we have a use volume of data, it is suitable. If you have a small set of data, it is not suitable. For example, mm, for example, let me give you an example. Now, Wasim is in a Varangal. Now, he wanted to go from his street to next street. You can imagine. He is having a vehicle, car. You can imagine. Now, he wanted to go from his home to his friend home. He is taking car from the shed, and to reaching his friend home, it may take 5 to 10 minutes. And instead of that, he is going by walk. Also, it may take 10 minutes. Yes or no? Going by car also his friend's house, it may take 10 minutes. Going by walk also 10 minutes. But you need to understand where you want to use the car, that is important. He wanted to come from Warangal to Hyderabad, car is required. He cannot come by walk 10 minutes. For coming from Warangal to Hyderabad, it may take 3 to 4 hours by car, but he cannot able to come 3 to 4 hours by walk. That's what Where we required a car, where we required by walk, we need to know that. See, going for his friend house, car is not required basically. It may take going by car also 10 minutes, walking also 10 minutes. But coming to Hyderabad, this car is required. Here also, when we require a big data technologies, we need to understand. You mean to say when we have a huge data set, that case only we can go for big data technologies. If we have a lesser than that, it is not required. Are you following, sir? Praveen and Wasim.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you have any questions, please stop me. Otherwise, ask some questions.
Yeah, okay.
Good, right?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I will try to explain another 1 or 2 points, then we can come for discussions and you guys are following or not. And we can go for one by one. And what are the things required to learn for big data technologies? I will go one by one. And developed by Apache Software Foundation, we know that distributed for processing of large data sets. And coming for big data also, it will try to do the two things. What it will do here, big data also it will do the two things. Big data, and to implement this big data we required for Hadoop. Hadoop also it will do the two things. One is storage, another thing called processing. Storage it will try to do in a HDFS, and while processing they are trying to use MapReduce. What is HDFS MapReduce we are trying to learn here? HDFS is nothing but a Hadoop distributed file system, and while processing they were used one of the data structure called map and reducer. What is a mapper and reducer? They've used this algorithm and all this data structure implemented by Java. That's what here we required a Java, but even though you're not aware of the Java also not an issue. But if how to utilize this map reduce, we need to be aware of that. Now let me say you guys are SQL guys. You guys are SQL guys. What SQL is trying to do here, internally B plus algorithm is trying to execute it. But you are not aware of that how B plus algorithm is trying to execute it. But you're SQL developer, you know that how to execute the SQL queries. Now, when you're writing a queries in a SQL, now if internally trying to communicating with RDB, but internally what happening here, B plus algorithm is trying to execute that. You don't need to worry how the B plus algorithms are executing. They are also similar like that. Here not required MapReduce, but I will teach you where we required MapReduce. That's what that level will see. Here you guys can decide. You came to a driving school. You need to drive the car. You are trying to came to the driving school how to drive a car, but you're not supposed to. You don't want to be a mechanic how the engine is working. Now, once you're coming to the driving school, what they will teach how you need to drive the car, how to sit, how to care the steering, but they won't explain how the engine is working, how the pistons are working, how the clutch gear is working. They won't teach you all this stuff. That's what when you are trying to learn for any technologies also, you need to design your role, your which part of that. That here coming for here big data, you are trying to drive your car. That way, your internal how the frameworks. See, Java everyone knows, .NET everyone knows normal. How the framework is working, why we need to worry? You know the car driving, you can come from Warangal to Hyderabad. Then how the engine is working, just you need to take it, but diesel is available, oil is available or not, condition that's all. You should know the driving. That way here, why I'm trying to give, when you guys are trying to upgrading about MapReduce, right? To learn for a MapReduce, you don't need to worry, but that implementation is designed by Java. But we wanted to know basics of Java. If you're aware of good, and otherwise I will try to help you to which sites we can able to give. Otherwise I will take 1 or 2 classes for that, not an issue. Now this is the things we are trying to do now. Now enter, this is an architecture, big data and Hadoop, and we have a HDFS and MapReduce architecture. master node, slave node architecture. This architecture is we require to learn. If we need to go for this architecture thoroughly, going for an interview, 30% of interview questions from your architecture. If we know the architecture very well, then we can go for a different ecosystems are available. What are the ecosystems are available? We have a different ecosystem. Hive, Pig, MapReduce 1, MapReduce 2, and HBase, and Scoop, Flume, Uzi, Zookeeper, and as of now they're trying to coming into the mark of Spark. These are the ecosystems we are trying to learn. All these ecosystems working on the internally executing a MapReduce algorithm, trying to communicating between the HDFS. Got it? Now this is entire our course architecture, and these are the ecosystems. We need to learn for these ecosystems and architecture and everything. You required a basics of little bit Java and Unix and as well as SQL. If you know these three things, it will be good. If you are not aware, I will try to help you that. I required a 40 to 45 classes. We can go for daily basis 1.5 hour, 30 minutes. And what I will try to do, and I will try to help you to prepare a resume and interview questions, and we can choose the timings, and like we can come for that we based on what timing and classes, how we can able to go for that, we can able to proceed. These are the things required. And if you wanted to go for installation, your computer we should have a 4 GB of RAM, 4 GB of RAM, and 4 GB of RAM, at least 200 GB of hard disk required for space. If you have, we can able to go for a software, and Hadoop software. I will tell you, I will teach you three things here: Hadoop, admin, and as well as development, development plus testing. I will try to give you three things here, and that is my course. And now you guys start asking whatever you have in your mind. I will try to give you the reply. Praveen and Vasim, what timings you are suitable? In what way? If you have any questions, you can ask me, sir.
So my suitable times will be evening only. So is
You
it
are
possible?
Praveen?
Yeah, my name Praveen.
What about Vasim?
My suitable timings will be morning, sir.
Okay, good. Why Praveen evening required? Your morning shift?
Yeah, I'm morning shift.
From
9:30
what
to
time to
6.
what time? 9:30 to 6:30, right? Morning in the sense till we have morning 6 to until 9 o'clock we have time, right?
Okay.
No. See, you decide. Don't hurry. I can give you the timings. One thing from my side, evening is not possible for me. Why? Because I am into office. I will be coming from office after 11 p.m.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
it is entirely difficult for me. And morning means I can allocate some timings. There are some other batches are going on, and if
okay.
you're fine, then I can try to allocate something.
Okay. So you one
That
of yeah
yeah.
regarding I will inform to your team. Okay.
What?
I'll
Pardon?
decide regarding timings. I'll
This conference will now be recorded.